M-U-T. It's in the name.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast. On today's episode, got a little interesting conversation involving the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and maybe your favorite Ninja Turtle, what it might say about you, or maybe what it says about your loved ones. Maybe you'll choose what character they are. But man, we're going to try to hit it from every level today, and we'll get to that Ninja Turtle conversation right after these important messages.
Hey friends, we've got something really special to share with you today, a brand new children's book that's all about faith, family, and finding joy in the middle of life's challenges. It's called The Adventures of Ben and Travis and the Joy Rider. This heartwarming story follows a big brother in a wheelchair who uses his creativity, courage, and a whole lot of love to help his little brother and cousin overcome life's obstacles. Together, they show us that joy isn't about what you have, it's about how you choose to face the ups and downs of life. This book is full of fun, adventure, and hope. It's perfect for bedtime stories, Sunday school libraries, or as a meaningful gift for the kids in your life. Plus, it's a great way to start conversations with your family about resilience, compassion, and faith. Pre-orders are open now, and when you order early, you'll be one of the first to get your hands on this inspiring story. Just head over to benandtravis.com/books. That's benandtravis.com/books and pre-order your copy today. Give your kids a story that will make them smile, laugh, and believe in the power of joy.
I'm Travis Creasy, the pulpit minister at Westgate Church of Christ in Dothan, Alabama. That's the all-pro counselor, Ben Hayes, with Highland Park Church of Christ, Three-Chord Counseling, Mars Hill Bible School. How you doing, Ben?
I'm good. Had kind of a crazy weekend. We got out of school for a couple of days because of sicknesses going through. Got to enjoy that myself one of those days.
Yeah.
A couple of those days didn't feel real great, but kind of back at school, feeling pretty good. And it's been a other than that, it was a good Sunday, busy Sunday, and so can't complain.
Yeah, I thought it would be bad. Of course, I didn't get to watch a lot of the Alabama game. I'm going to take one for the team here. I did not drink. I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious. I did not drink from my lucky mug Saturday morning, so it's my fault.
It is your fault.
I'm
giving that all to you.
It wasn't 3 turnovers or anything like that. It was my fault. But
and I put on my old school jersey because we were struggling. And what I didn't realize until later is I didn't put on the Ben and Travis jersey that you gave me, the Alabama jersey with the Ben and Travis patch. So it could have been my fault. It could have been all the other people's fault that did everything that they tried to do to turn it around. Or it could have just been that we fumbled the ball.
Isn't it funny, Ben, talking about mental health, the things that we take credit for?
Yes.
But I will say, as a coach, some of that is because I'm a coach. And I'm not saying superstitious, but they hadn't turned the ball over very much. Ty hadn't thrown a pick. And as a coach, I'm sitting there going, that ball is shaped weird.
Yep.
And there's a market correction coming. It's just when that happens.
When's it going to happen?
When's it going to happen? And can we overcome it? And, I think we overcame the early, but then there were more. And so hats off to the Sooners. Any Sooner fans that listen, congratulations. Way to come in, get a win. And of course, we could talk about mental health and everyone's anxiety about Alabama going to Jordan-Hare at night the Saturday after Thanksgiving. But that might be next week's episode.
We can get into that for sure. And you did bring up an interesting point since we talk about mental health. One of those cognitive distortions that we bring up oftentimes on this show is, I don't remember what it's worded or what the exact wording for it is, but it's basically taking responsibility for things that aren't in your control. That's one of them. And, we do that. We're like, well, they only lost because I wasn't watching or because I was watching or because I went to the bathroom, bad play happened or because, and I know most of the time we're kind of joking about that, but sometimes
it seems it's way in there. Yeah. It's some of that self-speak for sure. I can speak for myself and repent certainly that way. And I've gotten to the point where I'm just miserable during the games. And so one day I'll be able to cut the cord, maybe one day, but we're not here to talk about that necessarily. That's one you're not paying for today. We're here to talk a little bit about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Ben, I can remember, and actually at your mom's house, you may still have those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, I mean, the originals are
Some of them
probably
are
out
still
there
there for sure.
somewhere. And we were big fans. I'm not sure we're fanboys like folks are today about it, but we really did love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Then you throw in Vanilla Ice in one of the movies, and it was just
That's right.
90s overload. But
Yeah.
today, like I mentioned in the intro, we're going to talk about what maybe your favorite Ninja Turtle says about you, or maybe help you see what Ninja Turtles you've surrounded yourself with
Yep.
in this aspect. So there's a couple of levels there. I'm just going to read like the character by character, and Ben, I might put some words in your mouth, and you can agree or disagree on some of this.
Okay.
But we'll start with Leonardo,
Leader.
the leader, disciplined, responsible. If your favorite turtle is Leonardo, you probably carry more than your share of responsibility. People look to you for guidance, even when you didn't ask for the job. Your mental health vibe, you may battle perfectionism or feel pressure to hold it all together, but you also tend to be grounded, reliable, and resilient. You're the kind of person who naturally steps into responsibility, even when you didn't sign up for it. You want life to be orderly, purposeful, and headed somewhere meaningful. People rely on you because you're steady. That also means you sometimes feel the weight of being the strong one. You thrive when you remember that you don't have to save the world alone. You're the friend who organizes the group chat, color codes your calendar, reminds everyone that we said 6 p.m. sharp. Mental health, you're stable until someone parks crooked or ignores the plan. You often tie your worth to your ability to lead and stay composed. You may struggle with internal pressure, fear of failure, or burnout, but you also have strong values, emotional discipline, and desire for peace. Traits that make you grounding presence for all others, makes you a grounding presence for all others. All pro counselor Ben Hayes might say, it sounds like you often feel responsible for maintaining order, even when it becomes emotionally exhausting. Let's explore how you can share that load with others and give yourself permission to not be perfect. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good description of Leonardo. I mean, if you remember the show, he was he was the leader. Sometimes was a little overbearing in it, but he definitely was that, personality that went after it. And we certainly know those guys. I, you know, when it comes to Leonardo, he was always the one that I liked. He was always the one that I kind of identified with. I don't think he was always everybody's favorite. I don't know that he was my favorite. I liked all of them. But certainly there's some of the things in that description that I would identify with. I feel some of those things. And yeah, sometimes it can be a little unhealthy. And I think all four of these, it's interesting. All four of these have that dynamic of there's really good parts to them, and there's some things that are a little bit, can kind of hold you back or be things that you got to work on a little bit. So, you got some people in mind or some thoughts in mind for that, Travis?
I think you told me in the chat that this might be kind of your jam.
It would be Leonardo. I mean, he's probably more angled that. But
All
yeah.
right, so next, we have Donatello, thinker, inventive, analytical. You love learning, solving problems, and figuring things out. You see the world as one big puzzle waiting for solutions. The mental health vibe, you may overthink and get trapped in analysis loops, but your curiosity and creativity give you a strong sense of purpose. You see the world through the lens of ideas, patterns, and possibilities. You thrive when you're learning, tinkering, or solving a problem no one else noticed. Your mind is your superpower, but it can also keep you up at night replaying scenarios. When you give yourself permission to step back and be present, your creativity becomes unstoppable. You've Googled, why do I think so much? At least twice this week. Your brain runs more tabs than Chrome, but hey, at least you know how the Wi-Fi works. Your mind can analyze stress when it over functions. Your strength is your creativity and your ability to bring clarity to complex situations. All pro counselor Ben Hayes might say, I hear that your mind is always active, sometimes productively, sometimes overwhelmingly. Let's create space for you to balance your analytical strengths with moments of rest and grounding.
Sounds like something I might would say. I don't know if I'd say it that well, but yeah, what's funny is I was trying to diagnose our group, and especially the ones that you guys see on here some. And although there's not all of that fits into him, I feel like, and he's not here to defend himself, I feel like Will fits pretty well into this box. I'm not sure if he has the ruminating thoughts. What's scary about this is I feel like all of the bad traits that you read off in each one of these, I probably have some of them, especially that one where you lay awake and you're like, why do I think so much? But I'm not so much an analytical, like problem solving. I don't know how the Wi-Fi works. So Will Mahan would be that guy. So I feel like if we had to give out the tasks within kind of the BAT family here, Will's probably taking the lead on the Donatello part. He's going to have the gadgets. He's got every, new gadget that comes out with Apple at least, and they don't pay us for that little piece. But, he's got a lot of that kind of stuff. So I feel like Will fits that bill pretty well on at least some of those things.
Yeah, I think if you can connect anybody with a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, it's probably a positive in some way, form or fashion. That's what we're going with, anyways. Especially when we
what's interesting
others
is how that. I mean, whoever it was that came up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they did a great job of giving like every type of personality. And I didn't think about that as a kid, but you've got really 4 distinct personalities. We've seen 2 of them so far. But yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. And so we kind of move on to, I think probably in recent memory, just seeing like merchandise, right? What turtle is on the merchandise. This one has made up a considerable amount of ground over the last few years, and that is Raphael.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're Raphael, you feel things intensely, even if the world doesn't always see it. You're bold, loyal, protective, and unafraid to stand up for what you believe in. You carry a lot of strength, but you've also learned to armor up emotionally. When you give yourself room to be vulnerable, your passion becomes a powerful force for clarity, courage, and connection. You're one parking lot interaction away from becoming a viral angry guy slams car door video, but you feel all your feelings with Olympic level intensity. So honestly, respect. You feel emotions intensely and may struggle with frustration, impulsivity, or vulnerability. You tend to protect yourself with toughness, but beneath that is a strong desire for loyalty, honesty, and meaningful relationships. Your passion is a powerful asset when directed toward growth. All-Pro counselor Ben Hayes might say, you protect yourself by appearing strong, but I sense that underneath the intensity is a deep emotional core. Let's explore those feelings safely without judgment so you don't have to carry them alone. Strength made surrendered. All right.
I just think, Travis, you'd make a great counselor. The way you read those, I mean, you just need to, you need to delve into that. I like it. Man, Raphael, and he was one of those guys that I never really identified as much with, but I always liked him. I think he's the guy everybody wants to be.
Yeah.
Like on the inside, we all want that, but not all of us are enough able to be that assertive, and he was always a little more assertive and aggressive. He wore those feelings out there. And I mentioned in the text earlier when you and I were talking, like Raphael, I always felt like when we were teenagers, you probably identified about as well with Raphael as anybody.
Yeah, if you needed somebody to stand up for you, I could be that guy. I don't know verbally how well that would go. I wasn't a big guy physically either, so it probably wouldn't work out either way. But
I don't know that Raphael. I mean, most of the time he could back it up. I mean, obviously he was pretty tough, but I just think you tended when you were younger to wear your feelings on your sleeve a lot. A lot of things that were going on, a lot of things in life, when you were younger. And so I don't know that most people see that side, because I think the last one we get to is probably the one that's most identified with you. But I can remember a little bit of Raphael there.
Yeah.
Travis.
What about a Lonnie Jones? Maybe,
I can see that.
Younger Lonnie, but still got the ability to handle his business if he needs to, with more wisdom.
No doubt.
That was one that kind of jumped out at me thinking about it. But yeah, Raphael was a fun part of the show. He was the one, I think, that between him and the next one kind of pushed the story arc, the plot. They were usually the focus of the plot. And then it was Donatello and Leonardo who were coming with ways to keep them out of trouble, and keep them on the straight path. So definitely that works for teenage Travis and teenage Ben, right? You certainly fall into the Leonardo category of keeping me out of trouble.
Well, so that's probably why there's some identification there. But so we said maybe Leonardo, me, you, Raphael, Will, Donatello. I mean, not you, Raphael. You were a teenager, but I kind of, just because it was the last one standing, and I was thinking about Blake Holloman. He probably could fit into this. Blake's a little bit. He likes to push the envelope with people sometimes. He likes to, we were talking when, I've called him this on several occasions. He was real good on Facebook about instigating things. He's kind of, he's drawn back from that a little bit, but he liked to poke the bear.
Dad vibe has taken over a little bit.
And Raphael always liked to poke the bear. So Blake was pretty good at that.
Is your church looking for meaningful ways to make a kingdom impact? Healing Hands International has been partnering with churches for more than 30 years to make real change possible. HHI is a faith-driven nonprofit that leads life-changing programs like Walk for Water, where communities come together to raise awareness and funds to drill wells around the world. But that is just the beginning. HHI works to aid, equip, and empower communities around the world, teaching families how to grow sustainable gardens or helping women launch small businesses to support their families. And the best part? All of these programs are done in partnership with local church leaders, empowering gospel opportunities. There are so many ways you and your church can get involved. You can host your own Walk for Water. You can pack gift boxes for kids through the Magi program or host a seed packing event. Learn more and get involved today at hhi.org. That's hhi.org.
Our next and final, which is probably the one everybody's been waiting for, because I think, generally speaking, this is the favorite of the four overall. And like I said, that might have changed since we were kids, but I think when we were kids, we always liked saying cowabunga. So you got Michelangelo, fun, free-spirited, laid back. If this is your favorite, or you probably know somebody like Michelangelo, you value joy, humor, and connection. You're everyone's favorite hangout. Your mental health vibe, you might use humor to mask stress, but your optimism and ability to bring levity to tough moments are emotional superpowers. You're wired for joy, connection, and good energy. People feel lighter when you're around because you bring humor into heavy spaces. You know how to turn chaos into laughter and tension into play. The challenge is that you sometimes hide your stress behind your smile, but when you let people in, your warmth becomes one of the healthiest things in any room. You cope with stress by making jokes so fast people can't tell whether you're hilarious or deeply unwell. Either way, you bring snacks, vibes, and spiritual pizza energy. You're resilient and relational, and you uplift others effortlessly. But you might mask your own pain behind humor or distractions. Beneath your playfulness is a deeply sensitive person who thrives when given supportive, authentic connection. All pro counselor Ben Hayes might say, you bring a lot of joy to others, and that's meaningful. I wonder, though, who supports you when you're struggling. Let's work on allowing others into your inner world without feeling like you have to entertain them. I've never been so seen in my life. I've never been so seen in my life. Stop looking at me.
Yeah, when I was reading these descriptions earlier, I was like, well, I know Raphael might have been teenage Travis, but pretty much since then, and even then, Michelangelo is 100% Travis Creasy, and not necessarily the bad things, but
you've never been so kind to me.
Yeah, well, and it's a great quality. It's a great quality, although all pro counselor Ben Hayes might say, yes, that's true. I mean, what's heartbreaking, obviously, is that some of the most hilarious people who have ever lived were deeply, deeply hurt people, deeply, troubled people. And two of my favorite comedians of all time, whether good or bad, I don't know whether I should say that just because of there's some content that they have given out that wasn't always great, but Robin Williams, Chris Farley, both deeply troubled guys, both struggled with a lot of things all their lives, but both absolutely hilarious, and the guys that you wanted to be around, wanted to, you wanted to hang out with. If you listen to the people who talk about them, and deep, very good guys, at least Robin Williams did a lot of great things for people. But it can very well be something that masks a lot, and but it doesn't always mean that. But I don't know. You speak to that, Michelangelo. What do you think?
Yeah, I think about some of the things that I don't say, and certainly when I was a teenager, the things that did come out of my mouth were bad enough. But could you imagine the things that were rattling around in my brain? And there is some of that to even to this day. And things that you wish that you hadn't said because you thought it was funny at the time, and maybe people even laugh, but it might be hurtful to others. And so there's definitely a part of that is overthinking, maybe from the Donatello aspect. And I think you mentioned earlier that we're probably all a combination of two of these. And I think to your example, certainly, when I was a teenager, the Raphael part probably won out more than it should have. And that's still in there somewhere, and sometimes it rears its ugly head, but the hope is that we learn to cope and work through those things. So today's been a lot of fun to talk about this, and like I said, I know that in the Enneagram they say don't diagnose other people, but this might be fun. Maybe this is a little less serious. Hey, you're the Donatello in my life, or maybe, and it can be complimentary. I think that most of us have some aspect about each Ninja Turtle that we like.
Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, like we can read those descriptions and everybody goes, oh man, Travis is the life of the party, but you can attest to this. And it's the same way. I mean, I feel like I try to, bring some levity and humor occasionally too, but my wife is always like, there's times when I feel like I'm the one pulling the rein back. I'm like, I don't know if we need to do that. I'm a little bit more, leery about doing things. And, I try to be more cautious on it, and that can kind of, get on her nerves just because she wants to, if it's an adventure, she's for it. Let's climb that rock. Let's do this thing. And I'm like, oh, we got to get out of this canyon. So if we fall, let's da, 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 da. And then I know they're both of our wives have before said when we get into, certain of our crazy moods, they need to be away from us for a little while.
Yeah.
So there's a need to, so even for all the positive that those qualities can have of being the life of the party or whatever, sometimes it doesn't matter who you are. At some point, you're going to get on somebody's nerves too. So
yeah, I think that's interesting because, Whitney will readily admit that I have brought her a little closer to my personality. And I think that's part of the biblical process, right? That I've helped her kind of lighten up a little bit about specific things. And she certainly brought me a little more down to earth on things that I should be in that case. So it's kind of interesting to see how these work, and you probably all listening to this have a text group. And you probably have one or two of these in that group, but hopefully you've enjoyed kind of this light approach to mental health with us today. And, if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, or there's a place to leave a comment, tell us who your favorite turtle is and whether or not that lines up with your personality. Or maybe you have a favorite, but it's not necessarily who you are, as it kind of seems like that's how it worked out. We'd love to hear from you. But Ben, thank you for your time. And maybe we'll talk a little more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle in the future, or maybe another cartoon. Who knows?
I think it'll be fun. Not to leave Josh Thorne out, but throw a little Donatello and Michelangelo in for Josh Thorne.
Yeah, little
VAT.
mix of the, all that.
He's an
stuff.
engineer, so you can't take him out of the Donatello mix for sure.
Yeah, but
It's
he's
been fun.
definitely down for some pizza and cowabunga every once in a while. But appreciate it, Ben.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.